Welcome to the ACE Talks, the podcast where we talk about the stories, ideas, and moments shaping Accace. I'm your host, Veronica, and I'm happy to have you here for our next episode. This year we are celebrating 20 years of Accace. With this podcast, we want to embrace our anniversary and bring our people, history, and mindset closer to you. Later on, we will also explore news, market changes, legislation, and trends to keep you one step ahead. Now, about today's episode, I'm joined by the founder of Accace, Jiří Majer. Hello, Jirko, and welcome.
Hi, Veronica.
Jiří, you started Accace as a small local team of accounting aces in the heart of Europe, but soon enough, the company grew into a global, multidisciplinary partner that clients rely on across more than 60 locations today. That's a wonderful number. And you've been at the very beginning of this journey. But besides being the founder of Accace, there is so much more to your persona, and I'm happy to explore that actually today. Can you share with the audience in more detail who you are?
Cool. Good question. Thank you. I'm still searching who I am, and I'm afraid it's a lifetime quest. So where I'm currently, more than 20 years, happy husband with Silva. Many of you probably know her because she was at the beginning in Accace, and she spent many years with us and did a lot of things at the beginning. With Silva, we have Daniela, our daughter. She is 1 year older than Accace, actually. No, sorry, 2 years older. Silva will kill me that I do not remember the date of her birth. So 2 years older than Accace. So who I am, Silva, Daniela, key part of my life. Apart from family, I'm involved in Accace. I'm involved in Silva's family business after her father. It's a company which does engineering, they projects, bridges, roads, railways, and so on. So completely different cup of tea than Accace, but it's very interesting. And at the core is exactly the same business as Accace. It's about clever people using their brains to produce something amazing. When we speak about clever people, I'm involved in one of Accace investments legal system. They focus on automatization of legal processes. Not involved closely, but at least once per week we have chat with Karel, and this helps me to be a group of people who are really on top of development, technological development, and AI development. Mentioning AI, it's my recent biggest nightmare and biggest hobby, if I put it like that. But we will discuss about this later, definitely during the interview. And last but not least, I love nature. Not only spending time and hiking in mountains, which is the way for me to recharge. Recently, I started to enjoy driving the car. So for me, the best combination is to take Porsche, go to the Alps, enjoy drive and enjoy hiking. But I'm also chairman of the board of non-profit organization Česká krajina, which is very close to my heart, and it's again amazing and different world with people dedicated to nature, and it's very refreshing for me to spend time with them.
Well, definitely driving that car in the Alps sounds like fun. I'm very much interested. But maybe I would ask about how can you manage to juggle so many activities and projects all at once?
This is funny because Mihaela took over as CEO of Accace more than 5 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, and I was tired like hell that time, and I was happy that I handed it over to Mihaela, who is great in her position. And I was hoping, okay, I will have now free time to do maybe to relax. But I'm type of person who needs to have full calendar. And it's very refreshing for me now to have full calendar of different things from different areas, because this swapping between them is like it's keeping me alert, and yeah, I enjoy it.
I see. Well, maybe let's go back to the very beginning and talk about the beginnings of Accace, actually. What problem were you trying to solve when you first started Accace?
I'm not sure I would call it a problem, but the original vision was to build a regional company which will provide for our international clients exactly the same services across Central and Eastern Europe. My dream was to have offices in as many countries as possible, and to be able to our clients provide exactly the same service in Romania, in Czech Republic, in Poland, in Slovakia. So they have the same feel, they meet the same type of people, they receive the same quality of service. So this was at the beginning.
Have you always envisioned yourself as a business owner since you were a child, maybe?
No, since child I was somehow swapping between being Indian and a spaceman. There were
Great.
periods when I wanted to drive truck, but I started my first business when I was 20, during the studies at university. So yeah,
Wow, that's quite early.
life is short, no time to waste.
I love that. Well, going back to Accace, do you remember the moment when Accace stopped feeling like a small local firm and started to feel like a company with a bigger potential?
I never doubt potential, if I say it like this.
Amazing.
But um, probably the moment where I realized it was after, I don't know, 2 years, 1.5 years, because we opened more offices at the one moment. So it was in quick succession, I think 5 offices were opened. And when I was meeting colleagues in 2 or 3 offices per day, which were a few hundred, in some cases, few thousand kilometers apart.
Wow.
When I had Silva at home, who was managing small Daniela, or taking care of small Daniela, and managing internal finance, working 16, 18 hours per day. And just seeing airport and seeing waiting lounge at the airport and getting sick from that view, because traveling again, this was the moment when I realized, okay, it's not small anymore and something needs to change.
I actually wanted to ask about the biggest challenge in those early expansion phases. Was it actually this situation where you had to work, have to put in a lot of hours, be there personally, travel a lot, or was there something else that you consider as the biggest challenge?
The biggest challenge was, I would say, economical crisis from 2008, 2009,
Mhm.
which landed on our shoulders exactly in this situation when myself and few key people in a case were overwhelmed and tired. And the situation on the market changed abruptly that time. Uh, we were riding the wave of positive development in our region. Many investors were coming, so our ability to speak English and provide relevant services was perfect. We were just signing contracts and doing our jobs. But 2008 changed everything. This inflow of investments stopped, and we were in the situation that we had new offices with new employees, which were hired because we expected grow, but new business was coming. And this continued for 1 month, 2 months, more months. And I remember vividly until today, I was sitting in our office in Prague at the time, and really looking forward to see quarterly results of that particular year. I do not remember if it was 2009, probably, I'm not sure. And hoping, okay, we had lost in January, we had lost in February, but March, this will change. I opened the figures and March was red again.
Oh.
And it was like, whew, okay. And following months were one of the toughest for me the time. I was very close to closing the shop and to say, okay, let's stop this madness. We have no cash. We have employees, so we have liabilities towards them, towards colleagues. We have debts. I do not want to spend and waste all my money and lose all my money in this venture. So let's continue on in one country. But that time I said to myself, you know what? It's very easy to do business in environment which is growing. It's simple. Everybody can do it. So let's prove that you can do business in an environment which is not okay, which is not so easy, and let's push it through. And we did it that time. And definitely, I would like to thank colleagues who are still with us, who were with us that time, because it was tough period for all of us, but we managed. We managed. So
I actually wanted to ask you if you ever thought about maybe this is the end for Accace during those tough times. And you did say that you were thinking about closing, but pushing through. I think when we look back at the history of Accace, we've been known overcoming challenges, and that's kind of like in our culture and DNA. What were maybe your thought process besides having the team, having the colleagues, and having this idea that let's try and succeed even though the times are difficult? Was there maybe any other outside support from your family, since they were also involved, or friends who were encouraging you to keep going on, or it was simply your internal determination to keep going?
Definitely important is internal determination, which each of us has in us, but you cannot do this alone. So speaking about family, that time was extremely difficult for us, and we realized with Silva that something is wrong when we discussed cash flow each Sunday lunch at home. So it was really not funny, not funny. It was good test of our relationship that time, but we managed, and I would like to officially say thank you to Silva that she was patient enough to survive this period with me. And last but not least, of course, colleagues. Already at the time, I had many wonderful colleagues, and you can see some of them on top position of Accace today. And I believe this is the biggest proof that that time we had the right group of people, and we still have.
Well, shout out to Silva for sure. Hope she's listening. And regarding the other colleagues who are still with us, especially since you were the founder, how difficult was it for you to shift from building the company yourself to actually trusting others and giving them the power to do this with you together?
It was simple, and it was not simple.
Okay.
It was simple in the way that my default mode is I trust people. When I meet somebody new, I trust him or I trust her, and I have no doubt about that person, that she is trustworthy person. This helps me a lot. This helps me a lot. Okay, it can be danger in some situations. Sometimes it takes me longer to realize that the person maybe is not trustworthy. But because of this basic setup, I didn't have issue to trust people, to trust colleagues. Where I had the issue, which is not related to trust, which is related to the way how the things are done, because each of us does things a little bit differently. And your way is different than Mihaela's way, and my way is different than Jana's way. And this was the biggest challenge for me personally, to accept that people will do things their way. And then we can go from this topic back to values of the business, because then you realize that it's not important if you and me do things a little bit differently and we have different approach, but the important is a foundation from which we are starting, and this is this value stuff.
You're originally from Czech Republic, and I am wondering, because we do have a lot of Czech colleagues in the team from those times, was it easier to be on the same page and connect with colleagues if they were from the same cultural background as you, or this really just comes down to each individual's experience and what they bring to work?
Definitely, it helps when you are close to your colleagues. I mean, physically close.
Mm-hmm.
And this was one of the reasons why I spent so much time traveling along the branches, because that time communication, online communication was definitely not widespread and it was not standard. It changed only after COVID. And I see this as a key. You need to know your close colleague personally, really like personally. It was amazing lesson for me during COVID time, actually. When we started one project during COVID, I was closely communicating and cooperating with the new colleague of ours, and I never met her personally,
Mm-hmm.
only via the screen. And after 7 or 8 months of cooperation, we finally met in Bratislava personally. And it was such big difference to see somebody in 3D, not in 2D.
Oh,
I
yes.
was like, wow, I have never realized how tall she is. I have never realized this and that. So definitely, I'm a strong believer if you want to have good team, you need to have physical personal contact.
Actually, my favorite joke when meeting people for the first time after a long time of working online is addressing their height because you can never guess that through the camera. But I assume that since you were mentioning at the beginning, you spent a lot of time at airports and traveling, I assume it was all worth it because you had this personal touch with the colleagues at the very beginning, which were crucial times to launch a successful company.
Yes, definitely. I am sure we would not manage to build what we have if I would be sitting in my chair in Bratislava or in Prague.
Now, coming back to again these colleagues that you were selecting to kind of build this business and especially expanding across all these countries, what were the qualities you were looking for when selecting your future leaders?
I think I mentioned this already. It's definitely issue of trust.
Mm-hmm.
I want to work with people who are trustworthy, and not only towards me, but toward their team, toward their colleagues, toward their subordinates. Of course, we need professional competence, technical competence. We need people who have certain skills, management skills, but all those skills can be learned and picked up during the way. But the character is something which stays with us the whole life. So this I see as very important. Trustworthy people who are willing to work hard, who are not afraid to be tough. Because if we want to grow, if we want to do things successfully, if we want to keep our clients satisfied, we have to be tough sometimes. But at the same moment, you need to be fair, and you need to understand what the other person thinks, wants, and so on. So, yeah, trustworthy good people. This is the key quality.
Mm. When you look at Accace today, which is now operating across so many countries and has such a huge portfolio of services, what feels the most different from the original initial version of Accace?
There are more things. Definitely, one of them is the management team. Management team is wider than it used to be. There are much more interests, much more opinions, much more inputs, which needs to be somehow taken into account when managing a case and when driving company forward. So it's not a one-man show or a show of 2 or 3 people sitting on the top. So this is definitely a big change. And one thing which I would like to stress, and some of our colleagues from the board maybe would be laughing when listening to this interview, I am very much involved by my thinking about AI now and what it means
Mm-hmm.
for our business. So when you ask me what is different, I would say what is the same and on which we need to build. From early beginning, we were a very IT advanced company. And one of those key things was that we had a unified IT infrastructure with all the data, all the softwares in one central server. I could feel as we grew that there were attempts to give more IT/data freedom to branches because they wanted to do the thing their way. And somehow it was more complicated to have one central solution which keeps everybody happy. And it would be easier to have local solutions for relevant markets. Now I see that we were lucky that we somehow managed to keep this central structure, and I would say we need to be much more stricter about it now, because what will decide about our future is ability to implement technologies based on AI or machine learning. And these technologies will not serve us well if we do not have centralized data, which are organized in the right way and which are accessible for these technologies. Of course, following all the laws which are there because we are in sensitive area. So yeah, we need to cleverly centralize more and more. The advantage of technology is that it will allow us to be more centralized, but at the same moment giving bigger freedom to the local colleagues so they can do things their way, but on the one shared huge platform, which is important for us also for the further growth. As you mentioned, we started in a few countries. Now we operate in 60 countries. We are thinking about potential acquisition of some companies. We need to have infrastructure which will allow us to accommodate potential acquisition from other country. This is key, like really key, and I don't know how to stress it enough.
To me personally, this centralization always comes back also to the fact that Accace was created to provide the same level of quality and service to clients no matter the location. So if we are centralized and united in the processes and technology, it is only good for the clients, not only just us. So it perfectly makes sense to, what we have in country A to have it also in country B and so on.
Definitely, and this is the reason why we are able currently to participate in tenders for huge international corporations, where we compete side by side with much bigger companies than we are, and we are able to win the tenders partially because of centralized technology and mainly because of our team, which does everything for clients. So, but you know it better than me.
And I also wanted to ask what has stayed exactly the same despite all the growth. Now I understand it is the technological mindset, but is there anything else that hasn't changed? Maybe regarding the culture, the atmosphere, or maybe just the growth mindset?
What I'm happy to see that even we are much bigger than we used to be. I have feeling that we are still people, and we treat each other with huge respect toward the other person. And it doesn't matter if you are CEO or if you are a receptionist in the branch. We are still people, and this is what I see. What I see very very important. I like to say that a case is not organization for assholes, and pardon my English. But sometimes you make mistake when hiring new colleagues, new people. But fortunately, I believe we are so healthy inside that we are able to recognize who is the asshole, and sooner or later push such person out from the organization. Because and this I see very important. Sometimes these type of people, which I call with this not very nice word starting with A, they are using organizations for fulfilling their ambition, like the tool for their personal wealth, for their personal power, for how to grow in negative way. I believe organization is here for serving people both externally, of course, clients, because even when we do technical things, our partner is the real person. If it's CFO or HR person or CEO of the client, we serve people, and the same goes internally. We serve our colleagues who are working with Accace, and I think this goes back to the whole philosophy. What is the purpose of human life? I believe the purpose of human life is to serve others, to serve people around you, because through helping people around you, you are growing. So Accace growth through helping people outside and inside the organization, and vice versa.
That's a wonderful thought, and it just got so deep. But I'm laughing because also Mihaela mentioned this no a-hole policy in her session previously. And I have to say, as an employee, I really feel it. And especially with the new generations like Gen Z and what is coming after that, they are really prioritizing a non-toxic and healthy work environment. And when that is part already of a company, and there are no need to do some major initiatives to turn things around internally, that is just very sustainable growth for the future.
I'm happy to hear it actually that you confirm it. You know me and colleagues know me. I'm never satisfied, so
Yes.
things can be always improved. But I'm happy this is in our core, and we can speak about improving technology and processes and so on. But we don't need to improve this, which is amazing.
Yes, definitely. And you did share a lot of beautiful concepts and ideas. Also, what Accace wants to stand for and what is celebrated at Accace. I do wonder, what do you hope Accace will stand for even after 20 years from now?
Okay, I could say what maybe clients would love to say, that we would be the great provider of our services and so on. But I believe if we go behind it, what's behind it, it's never to be satisfied with status quo. And this is what I actually said a few sentences ago. I believe we should never be satisfied with where we are. We should be open-minded, we should be agile, we should follow what is happening on the market, what is happening around us. And currently, the changes which are happening are extremely fast, and they are fundamental. What is happening with AI? This is craziness. I don't know if you follow it, but technological development, which was allowed thanks to AI in last 3 months, I bet was much more than what happened in last 3 years. It's exponential. So when you ask me what should Accace stand for in 20 years, be open, be agile, act quickly. And this is I would say especially important in our business, because our business is extremely conservative, and we would never succeed if we would not have a company full of conservative colleagues doing their jobs and covering backs of our clients in payroll, taxes, accounting, legal, and so on. So this is the big challenge for us, how to combine this, our nature that we are conservative, but at the same moment being willing to change, embrace the change, and not to be afraid to forget what we did yesterday, to focus on what we need to do, even if it's something completely different, so we can succeed tomorrow. So yeah.
Well, I really hope that in 20 years, I will be able to ask you on this podcast or on other occasion whether that was fulfilled. What you
Looking
said
forward
now.
to it.
Yes, definitely. We are getting to the end of our session, but before we do say goodbye, can you share what's your ACE card that you always keep up in your sleeve? Maybe some wisdom that you would like to share?
I don't think I'm keeping ace cards in my sleeves or in my pockets. I would say what is a case, ace card, are people in a case, colleagues in a case on all levels. What we discussed before, I believe in all of you, in all of us, we have great foundation to face challenges which are coming. If you speak about my personal ACE card, I always try to think where the future goes and thinking about how to prepare a company for next few years. Some of colleagues are laughing at me because sometimes I'm very optimistic in terms of timing. Last 10 years, I keep repeating that OCR is obsolete technology because there would be no papers and everything would be digital. Only now we are getting to the moment when everything is digital. So direction was okay, timing was off. I hope I will be off with my prediction related to AI because this is something which will change the way we work tremendously, substantially, and not only the way we work, but also the way we live. This will have huge impacts, and this can shake the foundations of our societies actually, because combination of AI and robotization, when you take all the AI intelligence and you manage to put it to our 3D world through the robots, it's unprecedented in human history what is happening now and what will be happening in next years. So this is something which we should not be afraid to face. I have feelings that sometimes I see or feel or hear that people tend to hide from it, to put their head to the sand and pretend that nothing is happening. It is happening. Uh, we may not like it, and I personally, I will be honest, I do not like it. I'm looking always on the bright side, and I believe in the bright side. Bright side will prevail at the end of the day. But each new technology, and AI is a great example of it, leads to concentration of power. And less people can exploit the rest of the globe actually through owning and using these tools and these technologies. So I'm happy that in Accace, I believe we have a great team and we can work together for the future where the good people will prevail over bad people, and we will be the one to helping the world that it gets better. Not in spite of technology, but thanks to technology and thanks to people like you are, which wants good.
I'm personally looking forward to the era when AI will bring me coffee to the bed. I'm really excited about that.
Would not be better to have a handsome husband who brings you coffee to the bed than AI?
Of course, yes, of course. But yes, definitely a lot of exciting things to look forward to in terms of AI. And thank you so much for sharing that point of view and also for trusting us in helping build the Accace brand.
I thank you for this opportunity to have this discussion, and thank you actually for the whole idea of this podcast for 20 years, and thank you for all the work energy you put to Accace. So thank you.
Thank you. The pleasure is all ours. Now, to our dear audience, thank you for tuning into the ACE Talks today. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a follow, click the like button, leave a comment, or share it with a friend. Until next time, keep growing, keep learning, and keep staying one step ahead.